El Paseo Cam. Patrick Evans has a look at your first alert forecast. And Patrick, you saw me this morning. It was rough out there.
Yeah, it was clearly rough out there. And I will say that after a morning like that, you rebounded beautifully. Looked terrific. A tough duty out there standing by Gene Autry and the 10 freeway. Not as windy here in Palm Desert. You do see the palm trees moving around, and you also see that brown haze that is suspended dust. So our air quality is still in moderate range, which is good news. Look at this. We've just clocked winds of 75 miles per hour in Whitewater, 60 mile per hour winds in Desert Hot Springs, similar number through the Banning Pass, Palm Springs 40 mile per hour winds, and remarkably close to that in Thermal. So the winds are still on the increase. They've lulled a bit here in the late morning, early afternoon, but we'll see those winds ramping back up tonight to similar numbers. And because of that, the National Weather Service has extended this wind advisory, and it now covers the entire Coachella Valley, no longer just the pass area in Desert Hot Springs, but rather all of the Coachella Valley until 2 o'clock in the morning. So this stretches out the time frame where we're expecting severe gusty winds. So be prepared for that. Our temperatures, we're at 74 degrees. It is comfortable if you discount the wind. We're going to stay in the upper 70s and low 80s today and tomorrow. We're going to warm up for the weekend. I've got more on the winds and what's causing them coming up in your first alert forecast.
Thank you, Patrick. And News Channel 3 Shelby Nelson continues our first alert weather team coverage. She is live today at noon just north of Vista Chino and the Wash in Palm Springs. She has a look at conditions right now. And Shelby, winds are still impacting the valley roads.
They really are, and these are some pretty powerful wind gusts out here. As you can see, day 2 of this major wind event, and here at the wash off Gene Autry Trail near Vista Chino, it's still closed off. Those blockades are up, preventing drivers from coming through this area, and that's because at this area is where that wind tends to pick up that sand and that dust, creating extremely low visibility for drivers and potentially dangerous conditions. Now, all over the valley, we're seeing the impact of this wind. Take a look at the damage to this giant power pole in Palm Desert. This is off 38th Avenue between Varner Road and Washington Street. Crews were there observing the damage, and they also closed it off to drivers. Now, over in Indio, on Indio Boulevard, one tree was completely uprooted, causing damage there. Now, we spoke to some landscapers that say it's normal for their cleanup to be pretty extensive after a wind event like this, and they make sure to stay away from trees that, of course, can become a threat, just like the one you see here. Now, as for road closures, as we said, Gene Autry remains closed right now, and earlier this morning at around 9:30, North Indian Canyon at the wash south of the I-10 reopened to drivers. Now, over the hour or so that we've been here, we have seen drivers having to turn around because they obviously can't go through this area. It's still not sure, unclear when this area will reopen to drivers, but we're going to continue to monitor this wind and the damage it brings to the valley. But for now, live in Palm Springs, I'm Shelby Nelson, News Channel 3.
Thank you, Shelby. A good reminder to respect those barriers whenever you do see them. A big rig overturned near Whitewater. We're told the driver is doing all right. But take a look at this video of that overturned big rig on State Route 62 near the 10 freeway. The big rig blocked an entire connector ramp. Again, this is because of those windy conditions. Again, thankfully the driver was not injured, but here's what he had to say about the incident.
Yeah, the wind picked up the trailer like a piece of paper. The wind erased the trailer from the back. I've been driving for almost 35 years, and, it can happen to anyone. Any truck driver can happen this one, When the high wind, you have to be careful, Some people getting so close to the trailers and all this one, but it has, control this on the wind,
He tells us the trailer was empty and no leaks were reported. A SIG alert was issued while crews worked to move the big rig. The road was reopened within the past half hour.